to see if it works.
Yes, I do get the big in the end.
I don't catch the reference.
So it's streaming right now. Can you guys check to see if the audio is on?
We got audio in here. I can kind of hear him talking.
Yeah, I can barely hear him. So that's coming from.
It's loaded about now.
I gotta go through an ad first.
I can't even see the screen.
It sounds really like far
It's
away.
coming from in here.
Yeah, it sounds like it's from like here.
Ah, classic.
And I don't know if you heard earlier, but some of the stuff I have here, like the forge that I made, I just made it with some fire brick, the same brick that people use to make fireplaces. You know, a little over $2 a brick. That's really all it takes. Right now I'm just kind of evening things up, and I'm straightening this thing up before I move on to anything else. That way this looks a little better, a little cleaner, less work later. And I don't know if you can see it, but I got a bunch of little pit marks here that I'm working to take out. But that'll be a nice little knife, and I'll draw that handle out and I'll show you a little bit later, but that comes next. And then we'll switch over to this other knife here again. Maybe with a slightly smaller hammer here while I straighten up the edge here. And there are different styles of knives. This will be called what's a chopper. Just think about the old-fashioned straight razor blades that people used to use all the time. That's basically what I'm doing for this, but a knife instead of a razor blade. That's the idea behind this one right here. That's not what I originally intended for this particular knife. But then again, I didn't exactly have something specifically in mind for this knife when I started it. And that's where I just kind of go with whatever kind of happens. Now, I could have drawn everything out, you know, laid everything out, have all these diagrams and stuff. That's not my style. So, oh, there's not even a microphone here. No, there is. It's on the, oh, it's up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the camera.
And you're going to want to take this point off of that. Yeah, you don't want it on the guy like that. Oh, there you go. See how that light disappeared on you? That's starting to? That's looking pretty straight.
Yep, still that little gap right there.
Not by much, but it's cut it in half.
Oh yeah.
And again, I'm doing more refinement of this particular piece. Just straightening it up. Before I put this one back in, I'm going to take some of the scale off of it. Clean it up that way so I can see a little better idea of what I'm working with. Get some of that carbon off of it so I can see a little better. Okay, and I'm a little off center right there, so I think that'll be the next thing I'm going to fix on this particular knife. thing that we can do too is reuse some of our heat. A little bit later I'll have lunch and cook my steaks, or my burger patties as it were, for today. So now on this one, I got a little angle right there that I need to fix. Right? So nice and soft, I don't want to overdo it. Over here, take some of that out. Again, take the arch out, hammer it down. It's looking pretty good. I got a little bit of a gap still there. And I'm going to want to drop it. That's okay. I got some contaminants on it. That's okay. I've got my brush. Just pick it up, brush it off. Go right back to work. And this is the best use of your fuel and time, is if you have somebody working with you and you're working on multiple things at the same time. That way you get the break and a rest, and they get to work on theirs, and you get time to heat up your metal, but you're not wasting any extra time and wasting any extra fuel, because we're both working at the same time, so there's somebody always hammering. But if you like to work alone, more power to you. And you can always start a little cheaper than this too. You can just get a take an old barbecue pit, you know, Weber, stainless steel, whatever you want. Fill up some charcoal, get that lit up, and then that's looking pretty good there.
That's almost like one more batch to do it.
Yeah.
One more round.
You can do a charcoal, you know. I personally don't care for that because I like the control of the propane, and I can easily control the temperature and the direction of the heat. But you know, to each their own, right? Whatever you feel like doing works for you, works for you. And now I'm going to start drawing up this handle a little bit after I finish part of this blade. I'm going to bring it down. And you'll get a feel for the sound and the way the metal moves, if it's hot enough or not. You know, when in doubt, heat it back up. Because you don't want to work with cold steel, because if you do, one, it'll hurt your hand when you're hammering. Two, you'll hurt your metal and induce a bunch of impurities and possibly cause it to crack.
John, someone asked you why you're only wearing one glove.
Oh, yeah. So, the reason why I do that is this glove is the one that's close to the heat. This glove is gone because I will drop my hammer if I have it in a glove. Or, if it's in my glove, I have to squeeze it harder to keep from losing it, which means I'm already overusing this arm from all the hammering itself. I don't need big forearms and big biceps. Little forearm, little biceps. It's a
Also,
personal preference.
Those tongs get hot. With all the constant moving, the hot metal
Right.
back and forth, those tongs get hot.
So that's a personal preference, but also you don't have to use them. And they don't have to be leather. You can do whatever you want. There you go. Just like also I have a leather front because it saves my clothes from burning. Because I don't know if you noticed, but when we beat on some of these, we get some of this slag, these little black pieces of metal that come off. see these tiny little pieces. Well, when they fly off, they're hot because they've been inside that anvil. And oftentimes, what'll really suck is when they go down in the glove like that. And it's stuck, and you have to try and get that thing out. Some people will wear sleeves because of it. I don't have a problem with the heat. And oftentimes, I don't realize that I've been burned by the little pieces of metal until I get in the house and I got chunks of hair missing. You're gonna want to start working on your handle soon.
Yep, that's the next spot. Feel free to go to
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go now, yeah.
And you can see I have different types of tongs. I have many different types of tongs. And all of these tongs have different jobs, do different tasks. And you see this one's hooped. And it's got a little end missing. This one's got a hole in it, which this hole works perfectly with these nails because it'll hold the head in between the holes and it won't move on me. It'll also work the other way around too. So if you got this here and you need to be able to hold part of your knife in there without burning yourself, come over here. You need that tip to go up in there. But no, it's not working for me right now, so. But you get the idea. And obviously I lost all the heat on that one because I dropped it all over the place. Just put it back in the heat, do it all over again. And these ones have a nice little V-notch, you know, because there's a V right here. There's also a V-notch on this side. So on this square material, you can see it holds the square material without losing it that way. Or I can come in and hold the square material this way. If I was using these flat tongs on the square, I'd have to apply a lot more pressure to hold it. It'll work, but you get worn out faster.
Alright, John.
You're up.
I'm going to work on the handle. What do I do with the handle?
All right, so one thing that we're going to start doing here is when you come out. So all your heat is still in your blade. You need to stick this further in now.
Okay.
And start heating up that handle piece. Yeah, we're gonna slide it over. But you're gonna start with this off the edge. And you're gonna come over down this way. Work your way from here down. So you're gonna over straighten it up. Come on down, straighten it up. Alright, come on down. And you'll see that this will start to thin up. Right? And you can go as thin as you want, or you can leave this as thick right here and start working further down this way.
Okay.
Right? Or you can start all the way from the tip and work your way that way. So whichever way you want to work, because if you like the thickness right here, then I would start at the other end.
Okay.
If you want this thinner, get that set where you want it, and then you can take this to that point.
Alright.
All right? So for you to get closer there, we're going to have to move some of those. And that's what I like about this setup here, is I can just slide this over a little bit. And open it so that just the tip of your blade can come out the back. And you can move those other pieces out of your way. Oh, thank you! And I don't know if anybody has said anything, but I'm going to be making 3 items that will then be, I guess we're going to raffle them off or whatever. I'm going to be making these 2 blades. And then the third item, if somebody wins a raffle, you can tell me what you want. Or I can just make another knife, or I can make a bottle opener, or I can make you a failed attempt at a candle holder. This actually was going to be a candle holder. I learned by doing this, and I learned a lot of what not to do, but I learned a lot of what to do.
Someone asked how hot is the board?
Right here. So I am running with propane at 10 pounds of pressure. The tip is open at 0.023 millimeters. So with my particular setup and as inefficient as it is, I'm probably only running at about 1200 degrees. So now if you look at some of the nice forges that have, you know, the really nice insides that are really well insulated and whatnot, they can go up to 2000 degrees easily, if not more, depending on how many burners you have. But this particular setup I'm running right around 1200 degrees. I need to get that one in deeper, work on the handle.
Yeah, so how am I going to grab that one? That's all.
Have 2 gloves on.
So what you're gonna want to do now that you've got it started, we're gonna bring it out. You're gonna set it down over here. And you come over and hold it over here. Start working. And then you'll be able to start putting the handle in first. Right? That's you're gonna want the flat. Flat? Yeah, you're gonna want one of the flat ones. Because you're working on holding a flat piece, you're going to want the flat tongs. And it'll hold a lot better for you. And you pretty much lost all your heat. Yeah, I did. But now you know, you can put that handle in there first. And we're just going from there. And with that, we can close this back up. Saying, like with these tongs here, you can see how they're opened up, and with that, they work really well when you want to hold something like a spike like this. Let me get it over here. Right, so this handle, it'll be able to hold things in, so I can go right here like this. It accommodates for bigger pieces. But we can also, you know, hold it at an angle right there still.
Yeah, when you show it, just a little bit lower.
A little bit lower.
And then it'll be in the frame.
So how high am I going to here?
Yeah, I would say about like right there.
But not here.
Not there.
All right. My spatial awareness is difficult.
no.
So all right.
But,
So
yeah, about like chest high. Right
All right.
there, and then they should be able to see.
that way you can see it in the contrast.
That's
Got it. You can go ahead.
I'm just looking at the angle, so they're probably viewing about right here. So the red,
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, your handle's ready. Go ahead. You a better pair of tongs for that, but that's all I got.
that's fine. The one we made,
We can open them up too by heating them up and open them a little bit so they're not quite so low. Don't need to. They're good. All right, so what am I working on? Oh yeah,
Got a question for you from Senior Poppy.
got it.
Is the guy who his apprentice?
it's actually Gray. I'm his brother-in-law. Yes, he's teaching me.
All right, so now that I totally sidetracked myself, I'm gonna start working on this handle over here too. All right, so. Starting to straighten out a little bit. See? Starting to straighten out a little bit. bit of extra pounding. This hammer is about 2.5 pounds. It works for pulling things out pretty quick, but also it'll wear you out pretty quick. You're up.
Breaking your circle.
I am. Sorry, I had to put this down. What's that? Yeah, and he's thinning it out. Because we're going to do what's called a blacksmith handle. We're going to elongate it and then we're going to curl it. Yeah. No, yeah, it's made kind of like this one, except it's going to come all the way over.
Oh, okay.
Alright, we're going to go with a slightly smaller hammer this time. This one's about 1 pound, 2 ounces. One thing I have to be careful of, I don't know if you can notice here, but I've got a slight twist going here. That's probably the first thing I'm going to want to correct on this next heat. You're good. And one thing you might notice, I'm always brushing off the anvil to get that slag and that burned carbon off. That way it doesn't fly up and get in our eyes or whatever. Because you should be wearing safety glasses. Always safety first. But I'm stupid. Safety glasses. How long are you going to want your handle? You want it to be just long enough for your hand?
Yeah.
So, one thing that I did is I took a square. I had a little piece and a long piece, or the fat piece. Cut that off, so now I have an easy measuring. So if I need to say, what's the width of my anvil, I can pull this up against it, take a look. I'm right at 4 inches. Same thing with my hand. Okay, I'm going to want a 4-inch handle. That means we're going to be pulling it out and bending it around, so I'm going to want at least 8. That if I want a finger hold, then I'm going to want 9 inches for my handle. So for you, how much do you want? 3.5. So you're going to want to double that, plus I would give yourself an extra 1/2 inch.
So about 8.
So when you pull that out